I've been playing the Yu-Gi-Oh card game for a good long time, and every now and then I do some research on new cards and archetypes. A couple of months ago, I was looking around the Yu-Gi-Oh wiki and found something disturbing. Apparently, Kazuki Takahashi tried to make a new type to be released alongside psychics. Ghosts. This might be the reasoning behind the joke in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal when Astral asks Yuma what kind of a card a ghost is. From what I read, it was widely released in Japan, and only one pack series was released in the UK that was exclusively ghost-type cards, Tombstone Ritual, and they were only in stores for about a month. There wasn't much reasoning behind it on the wiki page, just that strange anomalies were happening around the places that a lot of ghost-type cards were gathered. Mostly tournaments and schoolyard dueling areas, I'm guessing. No other details. After a little more research, I noticed that most of the ghost-type cards were either spirit cards or turned into zombie-type cards in later pack releases. One card that caught my eye was on the latter list, Ill Blood, which was released in Crossroads of Chaos. I myself owned one, so I was curious if the effect of the ghost type was the same. I didn't see the ghost type version on the wiki, however, since there were only a couple released in the packs. Must have been an ulti, I told myself. Eventually, I forgot about it, being in school and all, but when summer break started, my interest was renewed. I searched eBay for a long while before finding something interesting. A bulk set of 119 cards, with the thumbnail being a ghost rare Ill Blood, the kind released in Tombstone Ritual. After reading about the product, I learned that the bulk set was in fact the entire English set released in the UK, plus a few duplicates. There were no bids, and it was only for $2. With only about an hour left to bid, I clicked bid and raised it to $5, just to make sure that those cards were mine. Strangely enough, despite the fact that there was an hour left on the bid, the screen changed to say, "Thank you for purchasing this item. Please proceed to checkout." Now, I'm not a big eBay user, but I'm sure when you bid, it doesn't automatically thank you for buying the item, just for bidding, and that you'd be notified when bidding was over or if someone outbid you. Anyway, I shook off my strange feeling and continued to pay for the cards. Almost immediately after the purchase, I got an email from the seller. This is what it said. "Thank you so much for buying the cards from me. You have no idea how long I've been trying to get rid of them. I wouldn't be surprised if you sell them off later, but thanks again." At the time, I had no idea what he meant by that. But once I received the cards, I had a feeling. At first, everything was normal. Cardboard box, send label, tape. However, it took me a second to realize that the sender used red tape. Who uses red tape for a box, I wondered. I shook this feeling off too, assuming he ran out of regular tape. It can happen, right? So, without another thought, I opened up the box and sifted through the cards. As promised, they were either ghost-type monster cards or their support spells and traps, and they all had a call number starting with TSRT, indicating that they were all from the Tombstone Ritual pack set. Time went on from then. I made a deck and dueled a few people. I got a lot of complaints because my opponents thought the cards were fake. But since I mostly dueled my friends who didn't mind, neither did I. My best friend, who, for the purpose of security, we will call Samantha, was a perky blonde who was always trying to beat me, but never could so long as I was using my ghosts. One card she dreaded was the one card I always seemed to be able to draw against her, Ill Blood. You see, unlike the zombie Gemini version released in Crossroads of Chaos, the ghost type was able to special summon itself from my hand if I controlled only one ghost type and all cards on my opponent's side of the field were anything but. Samantha hated this, seeing as how I'm very conservative with my monsters and never summon them unless I absolutely have to. She always surrendered at that moment, like she thought that if I attacked with ill blood, she'd quit forever. This went on for a while until Sam got so demented that when I played ill blood, she didn't surrender, stating she was going to finally win and conquer that son of a bitch. It concerned me that she referred to a card like it was a person, but I shook off this notion and won 2 turns later with a direct attack from, you guessed it, ill blood. That night, I got a call from Samantha's mother saying she had slipped in her nightly shower and broke her neck. I was so... It's been a year now, and I still don't have a word for it. I didn't even want to go to her funeral and see her head still tilted at that funny angle. I decided right then and there I was going to stop playing the game altogether, since playing it more would keep reminding me of the last time I saw her alive, yelling at my card, calling it a son of a bitch. What could she have meant by that? Now, for all you weak at heart, stop watching now. Still there? Then let's continue. The morning after I was told my best friend was dead, I woke up holding the ill blood card, but something about it had changed. Instead of it being ghost rare, it was colored in non-holographic, but the name was a shiny indented black, like the rares from Battle Pack Epic Dawn. The picture, instead of having a giant eye and mouth in the stomach of the monster, held a girl getting sucked into the depths of its fat belly. DD Warrior Lady, who everyone said Samantha looked like. The text had also changed to read,
"She's mine now, not yours. If you want her, you know what to do. I'm here, watching and waiting and 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 watching and waiting."
I was officially creeped out. Never before had I seen a card like this. I knew it couldn't be fake because everything it needed to be real was in place. And I never saw a fake card with Battle Pack-like name engraving. Oh, I almost forgot. The entire front of the card was faded in eerie red. I still wish I had it on me to show you, but what happened afterwards was just too much for me. The nightmares I had after Sam died got worse and worse, going from just a small night terror to full-on sweat and paranoia-inducing nightmares. The worst one had me chained down in a steel room, facing ill blood as he dangled Sam's decaying body in front of me. Each time she would swing towards me, another chunk of me would be taken by her long and almost claw-like nails. Now, bear in mind, ill blood wasn't the only spook I had to deal with. Oh no, he was just the beginning. A couple of days after being haunted by Sam, I started seeing other ghosts here and there around my house, in my sleep, in my books, everywhere. By far, the one that scared me the most is the one I call the King. His card name was actually Universitas Rex, which translates to King of the Universe. He could take the shape of any dead thing on any planet, but his favorite form was a young man, about my age, nearly completely decayed, with a strange white and red mist trail behind him. It was the most persistent. Even when I didn't see it, I knew it was there, behind me, watching. I can clearly remember not putting its card in the deck because it was too hard to look at. I guess this was my punishment. Either having to look at it or smell it always. But something else dawned on me around the same time. I found one sole picture of the pack art for Tombstone Ritual. On it was a background of grave markers, and in the foreground was the king, which meant the other ghosts were his soldiers. And if there is a king with soldiers, there is a war. A war for what, you might ask? A war for my soul is my answer. But they wouldn't win me over. Oh no. I started to put the deck in a red deck box and the others in a box wrapped in red tape. While the dreams and visions continued, my life was almost normal again. However, one day after school, I found my box open and all the cards scattered across the floor. Wave after wave of pure negative energy flowed through me, pulsing with my blood. My head was splitting with pain. I was brought to my knees.
You will bow before the king.
A voice rang inside my head. I forced myself to look up, and standing there was the king. His face held an evil smirk, and he started to look more and more like me.
The war has only just begun. You think that you're the only one we're after? How foolish.
I realized in that moment that the ghosts weren't just after me. They wanted everything I had, all that I loved and cared for. I tried to stand. I tried to defend myself. The king just laughed and stepped through me, sending a shiver up my spine. I blacked out shortly after. In my dream, the ghost army was assembled before me, bowing. I looked around with pride, believing I conquered them, finally. Even the infamous ill blood knelt to me. My joy was short-lived, because a row of soul reflectors, a ghost-type support card, stood in front of me. Their mirrored sides showed me who I was. What I was. The skin came dripping off my face like water. I stood tall and proud in a black robe with a golden crown resting on my head. My empty eye sockets stared soullessly back at me. I was the king. I woke up in a hospital, hooked up to an IV bag and a vital sensor. My parents were standing over me. They told me about how 3 more of my friends died while I was out. 2 in a car accident and 1 in a break-in. Needless to say, I was crushed. The ghosts had taken another group of friends, and nobody else knew it but me. I'm sure you say, why not tell anybody about this? You're right. I'll just tell them that my friends are dying because of a box of haunted trading cards are sitting in my room. Let's see how fast they put me away in that nice little white room with the jacket that makes me hug myself. When I got home, I decided to do some research for the first time. As it turned out, from what I found on a deeply hidden forum post on a site I've long since forgotten, the ghost-type cards were printed, and 3 of Konami's workers fell into the presses. Those 3 still have not been named, but it's rumored that one of them was a murderer, which explains the rest of the souls haunting the cards. I tried to get a hold of the person who had this information, hoping to find out more. However, I soon found out that he or she had deleted his or her account about 2 years prior. As you could probably assume, this annoyed me to no end. I was left with little information, an army of angry spirits haunting a set of cards, 4 friends dead, and the guilt of an apparently hefty medical bill on my parents. I figured there was only one thing left to do. I had to destroy the cards. My first attempt was to cut them into little bits. But That only made things worse, as the ghost began to multiply in my dreams tenfold. So I thought I should burn them. Also not good, because the morning afterwards, I found all the cards neatly stacked next to my computer, with Ill Blood and Universitas Rex on top. I contemplated taking them through a few wash cycles with some heavy-duty bleach, but decided against it, because if that worked, I'd be stuck cleaning the machine out for days. I kept trying and trying and trying to rid myself of the curse for 3 months. Out of options, out of luck, and out of the will to go on, I tried one last desperate act to save myself. I made an eBay ad. I advertised the entire 119 card set of Tombstone Ritual with some duplicates. I set the thumbnail as a ghost rare Ill Blood. I set the starting bid at $2. I prepared the cardboard box with red tape. When I saw that someone else had bid for $5 with about an hour's left of hope for me, I ended the auction and immediately sent the buyer an email. Thank you so much for buying the cards from me. You have no idea how long I've been trying to get rid of them. I wouldn't be surprised if you sell them off again later. Thanks again, though. I sent the cards off to the buyer the same day. I was free. Finally free. That night, I had the best sleep in months. No nightmares, no king, no dead friends. Just darkness. Just how I like it.